Welcome to the Simply Vegan podcast with me, Holly Johnson, and my co-host, Gabriella Clark. Each week we discuss the latest vegan news, taste test new products, and chat to some of the leading names in veganism. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. If you're new to the podcast, I'm Holly Johnson and I'm the ex-editor of Simply Vegan magazine and now the host of the Simply Vegan podcast. I've been vegan for around 3 years and I'm raising vegan kids and studying vegan nutrition. My co-host is Gabriella Clark.
Hi everybody, I'm Gabriella. I am a yoga teacher and I have been vegan for 3 years, really passionate about finding ways to really enjoy a vegan diet and also ways I can build more sustainability into my wider lifestyle.
Thank you so much for listening. We're super happy to have you here. And we'd love to hear what you think. Leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on and give us your feedback. What do you want to hear us talk about? What products do you want to hear us review? So this week we are reviewing some more Easter eggs. It's a hard job, but somebody's got to do it. Buttermilk, which is a lovely company based in Cornwall in the UK, have brought out some new vegan flavours: salted caramel, crispy berry sundae and zingy orange crisp. And they're available at Tesco and Sainsbury's, Amazon, the Vegan Kind supermarket and the Ethical Superstore. And they're £6, which I think is really good. What did you think of them, Gabriella?
I completely agree. From a value perspective, I think they're amazing. When I received them and having tasted them, expected them to be more between the £10-12 mark. So was really pleasantly surprised by the price. From a taste perspective, they were absolutely delicious, really rich in flavour, and actually, again, for me, fantastic value because of how rich the flavour is. They actually lasted quite a long time.
I agree. I definitely, before I looked up the price, would have said sort of £10 or over. They're a lovely big egg. And you get a chocolate bar with it as well. Which was your favourite flavour?
I was between the salted caramel and the chocolate orange for me.
I absolutely loved the chocolate orange.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go so far as to say it's my new favourite chocolate.
Wow.
Because the bars are available to buy all year round. So yeah, because it's milk chocolate, isn't it? Which is a nice treat, a nice change. And yeah, really, really, really nice. I'm never overly keen on salted caramel, but that was lovely too. It's just, I think it's a personal preference, isn't it? Whether you like that kind of saltiness with your chocolate.
Definitely. And I'm a salted caramel fan. And for me, it was delicious. I have to say, one of my least favourite chocolate combinations is chocolate orange. And I really liked this Easter egg. It just had like a zinginess and a freshness to the orange. And then that really rich, delicious, what I remember as true milk chocolate, but obviously a vegan alternative. So for me, these Easter eggs would definitely be my front runner if I was gifting them to another vegan or to anyone really for this Easter coming up.
Well, next we reviewed Rudy's Vegan Diner DIY kits. We discussed the opening of Rudy's Vegan Butchers. I think it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. End of last year, I believe.
Yeah, so their Vegan Diner and Vegan Butchers are both based in London on different sites. Obviously closed at the moment due to the diner anyway has been closed due to COVID. But they're doing these DIY kits which are delivered nationwide. You're fairly near London, aren't you, Gabriella? But I'm not. I'm sort of way down south, about 3 hours away. So this is quite exciting for me. To have something as cool as this delivered to my door. The DIY kits are £36 each. They serve 4 people. And £1 from each purchase goes to the Friend Farm Animal Sanctuary, which I love. So we both had different ones, didn't we? There's two to choose from. There's the Reuben and there's the burger kit. So you had the burger kit, Gabriella.
I did, yes, I did.
What?
I thought it was absolutely delicious. It was really nice for me to receive this, as I spent most of my university years and a few years after living in Camden. So anything with kind of a Camden connection was just a nice nostalgic nod for me. I was really impressed with how it arrived. It felt like a gift hamper when it arrived. And all of the components were there. So if you ordered this DIY kit, you really didn't need anything else in to make a meal. Everything was provided. So we had buns, vegan cheese, the patties, vegan bacon, lettuce, beef tomatoes, burger sauce, caramelized onions, and gherkins.
Wow, so that is quite some burger.
Quite some burger. Very difficult to eat, but really, really easy to prepare. And for me, very easy to recreate the taste of that kind of dirty vegan diner treat that you might get out in a restaurant at home. Instructions were really easy to follow as well. It's definitely a treat, not just from a cost perspective, but you're aware it's perhaps not the healthiest thing you could be putting in your body. The kit obviously served 4, so we had the burgers across 2 different evenings, and I have to say I did have a fruit salad for dinner the following evening because I felt like my body was craving some goodness. But it was amazing, so delicious. And actually, after we'd cooked the first 2 burgers, I went online, ordered a box and sent it to our friends in Manchester because I knew they'd love it. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
What were the burgers themselves like?
Very meaty in texture, very big, a really generous portion size, very meat-esque. Even before you cooked them, they had a very meat looking vibe to them, and it kind of gave me an idea of what it would be like to shop from their vegan butchers as well. Everything was designed to look as well as taste very much like the real thing.
So I tried the Reuben box, which was incredible. I mean, you know what I'm like about we talked about the salt beef rolls from M&S, didn't we? The Plant Kitchen ones, which I loved. So this was amazing. You get a ton of pastrami slices. I mean, you get loads. They lasted us. Well, I think we've had like loads of different sandwiches with them since, you know, and we had plenty to go in the actual Reubens when we were taste testing them as a family of 4.
Amazing.
Rudy's secret Reuben sauce comes in the box. Oh my God, I could just eat this by the spoonful. I want to know what's in it. It's incredible. It's kind of like a mustardy, creamy, mayonnaise-y type sauce. And then it comes with sourdough rye bread, which is amazing, pickles, cheese slices, caramelized onions, and sauerkraut.
Wow.
It was so good. And the 9-year-old in the house who's not fully vegan loved it and ate it and gave it a really good review. So that was fantastic. Yeah, like you say, £36, you know, it does seem like a lot to spend out, but it did, you know, it could have served more than 4, I think. And the pastrami was really realistic without being like, ooh, it's too like meat, if you know what I mean. It was really tasty.
I think, you know, when you think about it from a perspective of ordering a takeaway, you'd happily spend that on a takeaway for a family of 4. So when you think about it like that, it's not too bad a price, especially if you are then getting some additional meals or usage out of the components afterwards. Certainly will be reserved for a treat in our household though.
Yeah, I think mine felt, it sounds like you felt you were being a bit naughty eating quite so many burgers, whereas mine, it was like sourdough bread, you had like the pickles and the sauerkraut, so it felt kind of, you know, like it wasn't too naughty, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can imagine just the elements of yours definitely would lend more to feeling like a slightly healthier option than the burgers. But if you're looking for that treat or something special again during lockdown, they were absolutely delicious.
And it's nice to support a vegan company, isn't it? A smaller setup.
Definitely.
What do you tend to sort of have burgers at home for dinner at all? And if so, what are your favourite ones?
No, so I have to say, and again, contrary to all of the food that we seem to be sent to review, we rarely cook with kind of vegan substitutes or vegan, substitute meats, cheeses, things like that. It's definitely more of a treat for us. If we're having burgers, we tend to make our own, either using kidney beans or jackfruit. But yeah, I have to say, it's not something that we make regularly. How about you?
Having worked obviously on Simply Vegan magazine for a few years and doing taste tests for that, and then obviously now doing the podcast, I have sort of tasted quite a lot of burgers, and we do get them now and again, especially in the summer when, you know, we're outside, we've got the kids, and one of our favorites is the Linda McCartney. I think it's designed to be like a pulled pork burger. That's really good. And fairly low cost as well. You can find that at most supermarkets. And the other week I was also sent the Big Fry burger, which is from Fry's Family Foods. I absolutely love this company. I interviewed for the podcast Tammy Fry Kelly, who's founded the company and runs the company with her family. And she was just incredible that, you know, they're so driven by doing it for the animals and, you know, making a change that I just fell in love with the company. So I always try and support them now. And these burgers were amazing. They're huge. They are £3.50 in Sainsbury's. And yeah, really, really good, really meaty, and would definitely satisfy a big appetite. So that's another one that we'd recommend. Finally, this episode, let's talk about Nooch. Are you a Nooch fan?
I am. So it's obviously a nutritional yeast, a flavoured nutritional yeast that we were sent. And nutritional yeast is a huge part of my diet as a vegan. I don't know what I'd do without it, actually. It gives me the ability to add so much flavour to such a range of dishes, either within sauces or just on top.
They're $3.99 a pack from the Notorious Nooch Co website and from Amazon, or you can buy bigger boxes. And they come in two flavours, a bacon one and a cheesy one. So what do you use Nooch in, or nutritional yeast, when you're cooking?
So lots of the time I use it on top of food. So if we're having pasta or chili or soups, I tend to sprinkle it on top just for an additional flavour. I also love when I make scrambled tofu, I use nutritional yeast with mustard, some plant-based milk, turmeric and smoked paprika, and whisk it together and kind of pour it over the tofu whilst it's scrambling. Which gives it a really deep flavour. So lots of ways we use nutritional yeast in our diet. With the Nooch, I really liked the bacon flavour. It added less like a fake bacony taste, but more of a smokiness, I found, that was really nice to put on top of dishes. We had jacket sweet potatoes with hummus and veg, and I popped it on that. I had a chili last night and I sprinkled some on there. So really delicious. For me, I wasn't such a big fan of the cheese flavour.
Okay.
It had that slightly artificial cheesy taste where I'd kind of prefer just a normal nutritional yeast, I think. But the bacon flavour was delicious.
Yeah, I do always have nutritional yeast in the cupboard. And it was exciting to sort of see some new flavors and you know, they I think it's an American sort of term, isn't it, Nooch, whereas here we're very formal. Nutritional yeast. But yeah, so I use it in scrambled tofu as well. I use it to thicken up sauces. I find it it does thicken them up a little bit. And in pesto, so in place of like parmesan, I use it in pesto when I'm whizzing that up in a blender. And yeah, I love it. I really like these. The cheesy one is very cheesy, isn't it? So I think you've got to really love cheese.
Yeah.
Which we do, but perhaps we're a bit out of touch with what real cheese tastes like. I don't know.
I know. I sometimes wonder that when you're tasting things, whether, because it's been such a long time since you've had the real thing, as it were.
Yeah.
How much your taste buds have changed.
Yeah, it's true. I use the bacon flavour to marinate some tofu slices to make tofu bacon.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I kind of sprinkled some soy sauce and the bacon flavour Notorious Nooch. And I don't think I added anything else. And yeah, sort of marinated the tofu slice in that and then grilled it. And it went really nice and crisp, and then had it on sourdough bread with like a BLT, but it's a TLT. That was really nice on Saturday morning.
Delicious.
Yeah, so there's so much you can do with them. So they're brilliant. Yeah, I'd definitely say go and check those out. Just to finish, we have to mention our 30-a-week challenge that we discussed in last week's episode. So we were having a little competition, weren't we, Gabriella?
We have been a bit competitive this week with each other, I think.
So did you hit your 30?
Well, Holly, I hope that you're not going to beat me on this, but I did hit my 30 and I hit 42.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant. So I have to admit, I'm holding my hand up. I've been a bit busy this week. And after a couple of days, once I kind of hit 30 on the list, I kind of forgot all about it and didn't finish the challenge. But obviously hit the 30 in just 2 days. So, I'm probably the winner, I reckon, don't you?
Well, without correct figures, Holly, I could not confirm or deny if you were the winner.
Oh, so funny. Yeah, but it just goes to show, it's not actually as hard as it sounds. And I think when you add in the herbs and spices and things and nuts and seeds, actually it does all add up.
Definitely. And I think what I really liked about tracking it this week, and actually I think it's something I'm going to take on board going forward, is that I too hit 30 within the first 2.5 days. And for me, it then really encouraged me to eat more variety the rest of the week. So even though I was still eating lots of fruit and veg, I was finding I was repeating a lot of them later in the week. So
yeah,
in having this target to see how much higher I could get it than 30, rather than reaching again for the same salad items for my lunch, I would change it up. And that's what I really liked about it. It encouraged me to eat variety through the whole week.
Yeah, definitely. It did me as well. Like you say, you sort of sometimes get stuck in a rut, don't you? Having the same breakfast, the same lunch, and perhaps changing your dinner. So it does kind of make you think, oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a great idea to keep a food diary. Obviously, I'm not going to be very good at it because I don't know. I blame the children. They've only just gone back to school. So it's all their fault.
I think it's good. And it's, it's a great way to check in. As we mentioned earlier, we do test a lot of the novelty vegan items, which is great because they're there as an option for people who are maybe just starting out on their vegan diet, or who are in a family of people who aren't all vegan and need a really quick, easy substitute. So there's definitely a place for that in the vegan world. However, something like this 30 a week and challenging myself to make sure I'm eating the variety meant sure I had that balance between the little treats that we were taste testing and a really fulfilling, healthy vegan diet.
Yeah, I think it's all about, being realistic, isn't it? And balance. And, there's definitely a place in my mind for, the mock meats and the processed vegan products, because we do live in the modern world. We can't always cook from scratch. Obviously we try to, but sometimes things get busy and you just need to stick a pizza in, or you know, whatever. In our interview this episode, if you keep listening, I'll be speaking to Colette Fox, and she's a nutritionist, and even she admits to having M&S, no chicken Kievs now and again. So I think if a nutritionist says it's okay, then, you know, we're all right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody, and don't go anywhere, because like I said, I'll be talking to Colette Fox, nutritionist and founder of The Health Habit. She's also working with charity ProVeg to encourage schools to serve more vegan food. Hi, Colette. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me, Holly. It's great to be here.
Shall we start at the beginning, and perhaps you can tell us sort of when you went vegan and why?
Sure. I can tell you the exact date. It was the 1st of August 2018, and it's forever in my brain now. So just over 2.5 years ago. And me and my husband went vegan literally overnight. We went from eating rare steaks to nothing at all. And the trigger was my dog, Jamper, who was diagnosed the previous month with lymphoma. So basically, the vet immediately said to us, the first thing before we look at any treatment is look at his diet. That's really important. Nutrition plays a huge role in this. So we were advised to stop feeding him the sort of high quality food that we thought we were feeding him, that we got from the vets, and to switch to completely, you know, home prepared food, which we did. So obviously I wanted to do everything to try and get him better. And I started researching nutrition and diet, and realized the fact that nutrition plays a huge role in disease, which I kind of knew, but I sort of learned a lot more about it and started applying this to little Jamper. And yeah, just kind of the more and more it went on, I felt really uncomfortable about the fact that I was doing everything to save this animal's life, and yet I was carrying on with my life as it was then, living in Spain, and it's very meat and fish focused, and it just sat really uncomfortably with me. So I kind of made the decision, but my husband's a chef and was doing lots of cooking of meat, so I thought this is going to be a big, huge deal for us as a little family. So but I managed to convince him, so we decided and just went for it.
That is such a lovely story. I don't think I've heard, a dog given as an example of going vegan before.
Yeah, so he's responsible.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm still working on my husband. He's kind of like 80% there, but
okay.
He's still sometimes, I mean, obviously we're not eating out at the moment, but often when we go to the pub, which will hopefully be, in the next few months.
That would be nice.
Yeah, he does tend to go for the meat option and sort of eat it like apologetically. So
well, 80% is great, isn't it? I mean, I never thought that my husband would go for it at all. But I managed to put forward a convincing argument. So yeah, it can be done. I never thought it would happen to me. So there you go.
Well done. So at what point did you train as a nutritionist then?
So basically all this kind of obsession with nutrition around the dog led me to just, want to learn more about it. And I think it's something I'd kind of always had in the back of my mind that I was interested in, but I had a fairly solid career doing fundraising and fundraising consultancy. So I just thought, how would I ever kind of move to doing something completely different? And I'd be starting all over again. But I think just the going vegan, it just changed everything. It just changed my life, to be honest. And I carried on doing my consultancy, and I immediately looked, and the next month I enrolled on a nutrition and lifestyle course to become a coach. So and I started straight away and did that for a year and just kind of learned everything, well, not everything, but as much as you can in that time about nutrition and how the body works and how to coach people, how to get the best results. And, you know, obviously all about the different nutrients and the impact they have. So, I sort of got myself ready over that year for the next stage, as it were, and how I was going to implement that and, you know, use it to help other people with their health and, you know, actually integrating more fruit and veg in their diets, because I think most people could do with a bit more. So that's how it all came about.
Definitely. So it's the health habit, isn't it, that you run? And
yes,
you run that with your husband?
I do, yeah. So it's kind of a bit of a combo. We've been trying lots of different things with it, but he's the chef and I'm the nutrition coach. So we can offer quite a wide variety of things to people. You know, I tend to do the coaching side of it, but originally when we set up at the beginning of 2020, before we knew about COVID, or when we were just hearing about COVID, we had all sorts of things planned. We lived in Malaga, and we'd set up, you know, food tours of the city, all our favorite plant-based restaurants, and we'd gone around and done everything, and it was all up and live and ready to be booked. And we'd had discussions with cookery schools in the city, and we were going to be running plant-based cookery classes there, and I would talk about nutrition of the things that we were preparing. Obviously, this all flew out the window with COVID. We decided to come back to the UK and, you know, continue our work. So it's taken a slightly different direction, and I've kind of carried on working one-on-one with different clients, and Richard does more on the consultancy around food with, you know, some big food brands and writing and presenting and all that kind of thing. So it's our kind of umbrella for everything we do that's related to plant-based food. Yeah.
So what kind of people come to you? I mean, is it mainly people that aren't plant-based or vegan that want to maybe, you know, explore this or lose some weight, or is it, you know, a mixture?
Yeah, it's a mixture. I think I've only actually had one person so far who's been completely plant-based and just wanted to, you know, improve and see what they were doing. And their goal was really around losing weight. I think it's easy to think when you switch this diet, if you are overweight, that you'll lose lots of weight, and that doesn't happen for lots of people.
Yeah.
We're eating lots of carbs as vegans, and potentially some junk food as well, because there's so much lovely stuff out there.
I know, it's a nightmare.
It's tempting. But yeah, people come for a variety of reasons. A lot of people with, you know, chronic health conditions, so they might have hypertension or type 2 diabetes, or they're about to get one of those things and they want to sort of take steps to, you know, reverse it or manage it. I see more people with, you know, issues around depression and poor sleep and high stress. Again, these are all kind of part of the whole lifestyle overview. So it's not just the nutrition, it's, you know, are people getting good sleep? Are they exercising? How stressed are they? You know, are they drinking wine every night and smoking because they're trying to cope? So it's taking a really holistic view and helping people to manage those things. So, you know, somebody may come to me with a great diet. It doesn't happen often, but they just need some help around how to de-stress and how to meditate and breathe. And so I kind of help them with just some really, you know, simple things they can do, baby steps, not doing too much too soon, to kind of build those good habits. And they say it takes 66 days to make or break a habit. So typically I would try and work with people for around that kind of 10-week period, so that they come out the other end fully ready to go, and that these habits are embedded.
I think we've all found different coping mechanisms, haven't we, over the past year, and some of them are healthy and some of them aren't. So
absolutely. And I know I'm guilty myself of loads of bad habits, especially in the last 6 months with moving and, you know, lots of life changes. So I totally relate to it, and I'm guilty as everyone else.
We've sort of briefly touched on, you know, processed vegan options, because like you say, I think sometimes you kind of, you think, oh, brilliant, I'm going vegan, I'm going to lose weight, it's going to be really healthy. And then you go to the supermarket and all these amazing new products that we're so lucky to have are labeled vegan. And you're like, brilliant, healthy. But they're not, are they? So, are they always bad? Are they a good transition food? How often can we get away with eating them?
I would think you shouldn't be eating these things every day. However, I take a very pragmatic approach here. I eat these things myself. I just don't eat them all the time. And I think, you can talk about meat alternatives or processed vegan food as being bad. But if it means you're not eating meat, to me, that's a positive thing. And it's a positive thing for your health, and it's a positive thing for animals and the environment. And there are options out there. I won't name any names, but that actually are pretty healthy, because a lot of these products are, they're made from plants. They're often lower in fat. They contain a lot of fiber, which is the big issue. I think I think it's something like over 90% of people don't get their daily fiber requirement. So if it means having one of these products, it adds to your fiber without you eating vegetables. So to me, that's a good thing. And I'd also argue that, a lot of the alternatives to the vegan products are just as processed, and they're full of antibiotics and goodness knows what to get them to our supermarket shelves. So I think, if I was a medical doctor and plant-based, I would say you should be eating a whole food plant-based diet and cooking everything from scratch, and clearly that's where you get the most nutrients and the most health benefits, and is the most sustainable diet. However, we live in the real world, and we're tired and we're stressed and we're working late, and we nip to our local whatever and grab something, and I do the same thing. So if it helps people, I don't see it as a problem.
This is it. The danger is that kind of people come to veganism or a plant-based diet and have to cook everything from scratch. And I have found it more work, just because that's just the nature of eating a whole food diet, isn't it? You are
Absolutely.
cooking everything, and there is more washing up, and it's not for everyone. And I think it would be a shame for people to give up on veganism because they feel that it is too hard work. So yeah,
and I think as you go with it, one of the things we can show people how to do is how you kind of prepare your meals for the week and batch cooking things, and preparing stuff in advance at the weekend, so it is easier to put together, and you're not starting from scratch every day. But that's something you learn as you go, and there's room for all of these options. And I think as long as you focus most of your attention on eating as clean and as unprocessed as possible, there's room to slip in some of these other tasty things as well.
That's good news. That's what we wanted to hear.
Oh, good.
So one thing I love to ask nutritionists is what they eat in a day.
Uh-huh. Okay. So there's that kind of thing, isn't there? You see it on Instagram, what people think nutritionists eat and what they actually eat.
Yeah.
So I should be eating my oats and berries and seeds and things, and I do that sometimes for breakfast. Although I do have a bit of a love of toast, basically. I love toast. Yeah. So I try and get a good quality, like a seeded rye sourdough is probably my favorite. And I have, it's quite a Spanish breakfast. Toast the bread and then rub a clove of garlic all over the bread. So it's really garlicky. You get all the benefits of the fresh garlic that hasn't been cooked. And it's a good one for being in lockdown and not having to actually meet anyone face to face, because you'll stink for the rest of the day. And then smear it with avocado and blitzed up, nice ripe tomatoes, bit of sea salt and black pepper. That's my favorite breakfast.
Sounds delicious.
It's amazing. And I feel then like I'm getting some fruit and veg as well as having my toast. I'm not just smothering it in marmalade or something. So that's good. Lots of nutrients, lots of good fats in there. And then lunch, probably most weekdays, is a big just enormous salad, which might sound a bit boring, but it's got all kinds of stuff in there, like quinoa or brown rice or sweet potato, and then just everything I can find in the fridge. I love cavolo nero, bit of apple cider vinegar, loads of seeds, and just a whole mixture. Fruit, if I put apples and sultanas and mango, it's just a kind of medley of whatever is kicking around and needs using.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah, so at least I know I've done something good for the day, and that's I've had probably my quota of veg. And then evening, I'm lucky to have a chef for a husband, so I get some good stuff made for me. I like things like a ramen, like a miso soup with noodles and veg and tofu and that kind of stuff, mushrooms. But I have a bit of an obsession at the moment since I moved back from Spain for M&S Plant Kitchen chicken Kievs with loads of green veg. So I feel like the green veg balances out the chicken Kiev, but those are quite delicious and my sort of guilty pleasure at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't actually tried those. I think my my co-host has, and she said they're really good.
Yeah, I'd maybe not do it because you may not be able to stop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the vegan scene like in Spain then? How long did you live there?
We were there for 4 years, and when we first went vegan, it was difficult to say the least.
Right.
Eating out, it was just the little pimiento de padron, the little green peppers, or it was pan con tomate, the bread with tomato, olives. I mean, you're quite limited, potatoes. But I have to say, like within probably the first year, places were just opening all the time. It was quite incredible. We were close to Malaga in the south, and I mean, it had loads of dedicated, vegan restaurants by the time we left, and really high standard, and even like dedicated, entirely vegan tapas bars were springing up. So, I mean, there's some great food. It's and I think, just the movement in Spain, you maybe wouldn't imagine it because it's very traditional, but, the Mediterranean diet is very centered around plant foods with, small amounts of meat and fish, predominantly fish, I guess.
Yeah.
So it is a pretty healthy diet. And I think more and more people are embracing it. And yeah, we met lots of people who had switched over. So I think it's Spain is embracing veganism too.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant news.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So you've just started working with ProVeg, haven't you? Who campaign for change. What are you doing with them?
So so ProVeg. So I'm working, just literally started last month working for ProVeg UK, and they're an organisation I've kind of admired and since I went vegan a few years ago, and we're part of a bigger global organisation, ProVeg International, and that's kind of made up of 8 countries over 4 continents. Quite small teams. But basically the global mission is to reduce the consumption of animals by 50% by 2040. So it's a pretty ambitious goal. And then each country goes about running their different programs. So one of the common threads throughout the global organization is school food programs, and actually, going into schools and helping children to eat more plant-based food and cut down their consumption of meat. And obviously children are, the future. If we can get them to change and get good habits from a young age, that stands us in good stead for the future. So, so I'm running the kind of flagship program for the UK, which is called School Plates. And basically the kind of aims of it are to help school meals become healthier. So we're trying to kind of increase the quality of the food, the plant-based food that's served, and also, up the quantity of it so that there's more options and hopefully on more days of the week. And, obviously making the menus more sustainable by doing this. And it also saves schools, local authorities, catering companies money. The ingredients are cheaper. So that's kind of a good selling point as well, and obviously something everybody's interested in. But also, aside from the actual food, it's about attitudes, and we're wanting to kind of help change attitudes to plant-based food. So especially with children, with teachers, parents, and the catering teams, where it's seen as food for vegetarian children or food for children of a particular faith, or children with allergies. We want vegetarian and plant-based food to be seen as something everybody can enjoy, and they don't have to feel, I quite like the look of that, but I'm not vegetarian, so am I allowed to have it? Which is what often happens. Yeah. Would you believe? So so we're focusing on primary schools, just because it's kind of the most potential to change. You've got large local authority catering contracts, so we've got the potential to change, several hundred schools in one go and change those menus. And obviously that has huge impact. So, that's the project. And we do this free of charge, which is amazing.
Wow.
And we, go out and contact the local authorities. And then we just kind of have a quite sort of soft and gentle approach to it. So once we get a local authority or like a multi-academy trust that's got several schools in the remit, we just review their menus, and we sit down with them, and obviously on things like Zoom at the moment.
Yeah,
ideally we'll be doing it face to face at some point, and we're just looking at not even introducing new recipes in the first instance, but just trying to change things like the language that's used. So not, as I talked about, not having the vegetarian option, that you have, option 1 and option 2. So you're not making the main meal sound like it's superior to the vegetarian. So it's kind of creating more balance in the menus. And we look at things like taking out all the veggie, vegan, veggie sausage, all these words, and putting in more descriptive words around where, if it's a crispy chicken style something, or if it's a creamy korma rather than a veg curry. So things that kind of sell the dishes and encourage kids to choose those over the meat-based option. So it's really simple little tweaks that we make, and then we sort of test that out and see what the uptake is, and then we kind of move to the next phase of basically trying to connect children with the food and the impact it has. So lots of schools have meat-free days or meat-free Mondays, so we're sort of trying to say that's great that you're doing that, but how about not calling it meat-free, because that also implies there's maybe something missing. And talk about things like planet days or planet-friendly days, where kids can start to make the connection with the food and the impact it has, in the environment and on animals and on their health, and just kind of make them think a bit more about, where the food's coming from and what they want to eat, I guess. That in a nutshell is, our kind of aim. And if there's anyone out there who's involved with a school or parent of a child, or particularly if, on a larger scale, like a local authority or, catering company, we'd love to be in touch with you and, offer our services for free if it would help.
So how can people get in touch with you? Is that via ProVeg?
Yeah. So I just drop me an email, basically. The email is schools with an S @proveg.com. So nice and simple, and I will pick that up.
There's some really good ideas there. I have a 9-year-old son who's at primary school, and they have vegetarian options, and I think they're labelled option 1, option 2.
Okay, that's good.
Which is good, but there's nothing. Yeah, there's no vegan options. So how would you kind of approach that?
So that would be typically something. Some schools do have vegan options, but mostly don't. So they'll have lots of kind of cheesy type things as the vegetarian. So typically, as I said, we sort of take this slowly approach. It might be something to introduce at the second stage, once they've tried it out and they're a bit more open to, knowing that this works and kids are receptive to a bit of change, we can then try and make some of the dishes plant-based. So we can say, okay, well, instead of putting your milk, your dairy milk in there, we could switch it for some oat milk or soya milk, and just switch out some of the ingredients and kind of make it a plant-based dish.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. But again, it's, people can be a bit afraid of change and think very nice to taste. So it's about really selling it and getting them to try things. And I mean, I was speaking to somebody yesterday who I've suggested some recipes to, and she emailed me to say, yep, I'm going off to make the crushed chickpea and sweet corn mayo sandwiches at home this weekend and try it out before we put it into, our packed lunches as the new plant-based option. So it's great that people are embracing it. I sometimes think, oh gosh, people are going to freak out when I suggest this, but I'm amazed at how open and up for it these schools and catering organizations are. It's really brilliant.
That is really good to hear, because I think some people still are a bit afraid of veganism, aren't they? They think it's some sort of cult that's trying to, get them to give up all their favorite things and kind of become one of us. And I think, we are moving away from that image all the time, but there still is that sort of idea out there, I think.
I think so. And I think, I think plant-based and veganism are two different things. They're kind of a bit one and the same, but you can, I think the plant-based angle is certainly a strong one. And if that hooks people to making changes for whatever reason, they decide to make them, maybe becoming vegan is something else that happens further down the line, or people often start out for one reason and then, they kind of their knowledge and understanding grows. And it becomes for lots of reasons. I mean, for me, I started out because of my dog, but now it's for everything. Yeah. I do it for all reasons, and and I am vegan, but I don't promote veganism, nor does ProVeg. It's about trying to get it's again this pragmatic approach and trying to get people to just drop, cut a bit of the meat and dairy and up the intake, and hopefully you get to feel better and you like it and you do more of it because it works for you. So yeah, that kind of baby steps approach, I think, seems to work.
Yeah. Do you think children want to know where their food comes and make more conscious choices?
Yeah, I do, definitely. I mean, I don't have children myself. I've got dogs instead, but I know lots of children. And I mean, I think kids are, they're naturally inquisitive, aren't they? They want to know. They've always got a million questions, and why this and why that. So I think, yes, I think a lot of kids don't know where their food comes from. I think you probably do if you live, in the Mediterranean and you eat whole fish with the heads on and the whole thing. I think if you live in, lots of parts of the UK, you wouldn't. You just pick things, come in a polystyrene thing with cling film, and it goes in the pan.
Yeah.
And, perhaps if you grow up in a more rural setting, where eggs come from, and you understand about how food is made, and growing your own vegetables. So I think my view is, of course, children want to know, and I think by knowing it helps them to decide what they want to eat, and do they like the idea of hurting an animal? Probably not. I think we kind of condition ourselves as we get older, don't we, that some of these things are okay. Whereas I think children are more honest and pure.
Yeah.
So I think we owe it to them to, in the nicest possible way, without being frightening or scary, show them and encourage them to grow vegetables and fruit and anything they can do, whatever their sort of home setup is a positive thing, and then they can make their own choices.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what's your vision for the future, just to finish off?
Gosh, big question. I guess a more plant-based world, without sounding too idealistic. I've talked about children, and I think, if we can help children to eat better, that would be an amazing thing. And obviously they're the future. Lots of older people are more set in their ways, not everybody, but I get that. my parents, for example, think it's crazy, and they think I'm crazy that I'm vegan. And when am I going to, have I grown out of it yet? That kind of thing. They don't understand it's a choice forever. So, but I think, helping children and seeing more schools, or, just generally, not specifically with the work with ProVeg, but that would be an amazing thing to see more choices available and more people taking them. And I guess for me personally, to just keep doing work that I absolutely love and I think makes a difference is really important, and I this sort of transition to a little bit away from the health coaching at the moment, because I feel like it makes a bigger impact, which is, really important. So more of the same for me, please, would be great.
Oh, well, thank you so much for chatting to us. It's been really good to hear from you.
You're welcome, Holly.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Simply Vegan podcast. We have a new episode out every Tuesday morning, UK time. So we'll see you next week.